My name is not important. I'm going to be speaking about life over the next few weeks. These are just recordings of the events as they've occurred. I'm sitting in California in my backyard. The sun is coming through the trees in the evening. A very nice, calm, quiet autumn evening in October. There's been many new beginnings and some endings over the last few years, 4 years. I'm not here to convince anybody of anything. I'm just working out my own understanding. A friend of mine on Facebook committed suicide. He was in his mid-20s. He had a family, lived in the Midwest. He had a few kids, a wife. His name was CJ. And CJ and I became friends in the middle of, I guess, what you would call my great awakening. Some nice birds out here today. Maybe that's CJ. And we met on Facebook. At different phases of what I've been through over the last 4 years, I've been very verbal and very communicative. I generally am that way. Probably one of the reasons that I'm making these recordings, because it's something I can do, and I enjoy. I like to talk about life. I like to ask questions of authority, because I don't trust them. But more than that, I didn't trust myself and my life. So, getting back to my friend CJ, I was sharing a lot of this and working it out loud on Facebook. And I suppose in a rant, I caught his attention, and he was attracted probably to the fierceness of my comments or the force with which I made them. Yeah, an affection grew for him as we shared over a few months. I guess I knew him for about a year before he committed suicide. That happened recently, a few months ago. A couple of months ago. We became semi-friends. I represented myself as just a seeker, and I am just a seeker in life. The truth I know I can't teach anybody. It was for me, and that's what I shared with CJ. He was interested in, I forget exactly where we met on Facebook, but he was interested in esoteric topics as I was. He shared a little bit of his art. Honestly, at the time, I did most of the talking because I didn't feel like CJ really had anything to offer me. And that was, of course, my arrogance and stupidity. But I could see that CJ had a heart for his family, and he had a curiosity about life similar to mine. And so we shared that. I believe actually we met on a INFJ board or a similar thing, so we had similar personalities, and we tend to be messianic types, us Capricorn INFJs, and I suppose we shared some idea that maybe, the world could be a better place. In my journey to find that answer, can the world be a better place? Can I be a better person? I have realized that the answer to both those questions is yes, wholeheartedly. And I shared that, always just try to share out loud that perspective, I believe, with CJ. Anyway, I let him go. I never pursued him. I only responded as he made moves towards me. And perhaps that again is another arrogant mistake that I made. But in the process of that, I came to own my own understanding of what I'd come to understand as enlightenment or awakening or non-dualism, as the Eastern Advaita might say. We'll get to that later. I want to finish about CJ. So, I heard from him 4 months ago, I suppose, or 3 months ago. Sorry, 2 months ago. And he shared very bluntly, I'm thinking of killing myself. It was out of nowhere. He had never discussed it before. I know he had not been feeling well. He'd asked me some questions about getting some help. I had, made some, I thought, helpful comments. And he had shared that, and I said, well, listen, I'll stand with you, brother, but, that's a stupid thing to do, I told him. And think about your family, what's so bad that you can't work out? And, it became very apparent to me right there that, obviously CJ was in a crisis, and I felt, at that moment burdened and, responsible. So I did what I could. I shared what I could. I gave him what light I had to give, I thought, and I sent him on his way. And I didn't contact any of his family or friends, and perhaps I should have. I gave him my 800 number for suicide hotline, and that's the best I got. The stoic in me said, you know what? If that guy wants to end his life and he has no reason to live, now I know how foolish that is and how wrong that view is, because the truth is as apparent as the breath we breathe and the sun shining on our faces. But, I kind of was like, if he wants to do it, do it. The first time that he said he was going to do it, I said, as you like, was my response. I regret that. I didn't mean to go so deeply into this right now, but obviously it's on my heart. So, anyway, hummingbird here right now, enjoying some nectar. Very beautiful. I've really been enjoying our new backyard, if I can take an aside here, because there's so much to talk about, and there's so really nothing to talk about. But I'll talk anyway. And, there's a hummingbird dance going on. Okay, there they go. I see the green man to my right over on our plum tree. We got a little green man. I'll talk about him maybe today, maybe not. Anyway, back to my friend CJ. I have thought about what I said and, regret what I said to him. But anyway, a couple days later, it was a Wednesday, he contacted me. A couple days later, Sunday, his wife called me out of nowhere. Obviously, I was concerned, and it was 10 o'clock at night with my fiance. Hello, is this thing on? So, yeah, my buddy CJ, his wife called me 10 o'clock in the evening. My fiance and I were in shock, to say the least. She just, yeah, it was hard to understand. I'd never really faced anything like that myself, so. Anyway, that was a very challenging time, and that's all I guess I have to say about that. What did I learn from that? I'll say that, You can't help anybody but yourself. Now, that's a hard lesson to learn. That's a bitter pill, as they say. But, rest in peace, CJ. So, continuing on. You can't help anybody but yourself. You know, here's my next true psychedelic Zen shaman confession. I did psychedelics, but I do not remember when. Oh, see? He remembers. Anyway, I figured about 4 years ago, you know, what the hell, I'd never tried it. I'd messed my life up pretty bad. We could jump back to that true confession, I guess. Yeah, let's back up. Who am I? You know, who are any of us? Peace to Harry Dean Stanton, who recently passed away. My existential brother. He was a little bitter towards the end, but anyway. I love that guy. I gotta watch The Repo Man again. But, anyway, I come from an eastern town in America, in Virginia, from Virginia, born in Washington, D.C. And excuse me while I still get my kit down, and I'm going to record all these in the backyard. Again, I don't know who's listening and who this is for. It's just for myself, so I guess I don't care. I will try to not use coarse language, and I, as again said, I will always try to be honest with you. So, yeah, I grew up a kind of, I guess, a Baptist kid, and the birds are singing. The sun is coming through the trees. It's really beautiful. This is Zen. What is a Zen shaman? Anyway, we'll get to all of this. We're unpacking things slowly. We started with a bang. We'll end with a semi-bang, and then maybe a whimper and a bang. I don't know. My lovely partner, fiance, is walking around. And the dogs, again, enjoying an autumn evening in California. And so let's get back to it. So, yeah, I grew up a Baptist kid. And my mother became a Christian, and I guess quickly became a Pentecostal Christian, and I suppose of the 700 Club kind of strain. And it was at that time, it was in the 80s, and it was at the beginning of the prosperity gospel that was kind of taking hold of middle America. All those evangelical Christian churches in America at that time deeply wanted the world to end. So that's how I was bred. To hate the world. Not love it. Ironic, right? Anyway, we'll talk about Jesus. I am not Jesus. You are Jesus. I am Jesus. You are not Jesus. We are all Christ. You know, that's my understanding of Jesus. I always felt that way about him. Anyway, so yeah, that's how I grew up. I grew up a Bible thumper, loving Jesus, memorizing scriptures. I wasn't very good at it. I was a lazy student. We'll skip all that. It's not important really right now, but why am I recording this right now? because it's time to share my heart with the world, because the world has given me everything. I'm in my beautiful backyard right now, chilling. It's my very modest home. We have a modest life. I try to lead a modest life. But, truth confessions, back in the day, I was kind of a bastard, for the first 40 years of my life. I'm a bastard to this day. I won't say how old I am. I'm in my middle age. Anyway, so yeah, I was not a very good guy, but I was brought up to be a good guy. And there's the conflict. The setup, as they say. I knew nothing of the East. I knew nothing of Zen. I knew nothing of psychedelics and drugs. I was quickly insulated from all of that. And I think my mom did me a service by doing that because, in a way I kind of jumped. She was 19, 18 or something, 19 when she had me, and 19. At that time they had kind of, I think, one of them had been a hippie, one of them not. Maybe both tried. I don't know. But they kind of jumped over that. They were just poor kids. We were very poor. We did okay. We were middle working class, which I'm proud to say that I learned a lot from. So, where I am today to say is that I accept everything that has come. I accept the world as it is. I accept myself as I am, and I accept others as they are, because there's really no other way, to face life and accept and overcome your fears, I found. So, again, this isn't going to be a forum to argue religion and metaphysics or philosophy. Philosophy is speculation. Zen is participation. I'm in my backyard. I'm in nature. I'm surrounded by our trees and our dogs, and, there's a feeling to that. I guess you could say a qualia. We'll talk later about the heart problem consciousness. I'm not here to philosophize or, as I said, convince you of anything. I'm just telling you the truth. So, if you could live by those basic 3 rules to accept everything as it is, you kind of have it made. It's a good neutral point to face life. So, yeah, back to me being a bastard. I was tried to be a good kid in high school. Not popular at all. Just a lone wolf. I always had a deep passion, for some reason, connection to the, to who Jesus was, but I didn't buy into the whole ecumenical scene. You know what I mean, man? To channel my Alan Watts. If I can mention, and sometimes I will mention different teachers and note them, but Alan is Alan Watts. You can find him all over YouTube. If you just start with Alan Watts's videos and on YouTube, you'll pretty quickly, he'll lay it out very quickly to you. He's from the 60s, 50s, 60s. He was part of the revolution, and partook of. He was more in the Bodhidharma style, I'll say, of Zen Buddhists, and he had been somebody from England who went east, found himself, which is to say, found his heart, which is what I said, found, and then he made his way back to the West. And he was a big part of bringing, I think, of the core of maybe the mystical side or the true Zen side of the experience to the West. And I think it was an alien, very alien concept at the time, obviously. But, there was a lot of New Age, love, free love, Age of Aquarius, but there wasn't the discipline that I came to appreciate through my own practice and my own experience with Zen, which is to say, all of this that I'm talking about is really just, echoing into the darkness, into the black, the great abyss, the void, the chasm. The Christians will tell you that they have an answer to it. And they do. They have a good answer. But you have to be part of their club, or you know how it goes. I don't want to beat up on anybody. Let's let everybody be who they are and where they are, and let the world spin. That's something, a concept. I'll flow. This is a very unstructured, free-flowing kind of experience that I'm embarking on. We have apparently military, helicopters on the way. I'm going to take a pause now. I'll be back in a minute. All right, picking up where I left off, continuing the psychedelic confessions, true confessions of a Zen shaman. Oh, hello. Back again with... here's the thing. When you're in life, you're entangled. And, all these guys that are going around, saying they're awake. People, women, people, children, whomever. Let everyone be where they are. That's the rule I've tried to reshape my life around. And, not always successfully. Well, there's Bella. Bella's being a dog. She's just in the dirt. Hi, baby. We used to not get along very well. I was very mean to her. That's a true confession I'll make right now. Your next psychedelic Zen shaman true confession is: I have a bad temper and have used it. And may have left a few emotional marks, around the world. And hey, that's my karma, if you believe in such things. Which I don't, because I believe nothing. And I'm not trying to play a stupid word game with you, because, let me lay it on you, folks. Here it is. Ooh, my goodness, I didn't think it would come out this soon, but here it is. It wants to come out. You want the freaking answer and truth of life. It's right here. We're living it, my friends. Look at this beautiful place that the universe has given. Not just you, but everyone you're connected to. Because as you and your life find peace, and I hope, really, if I can communicate anything, and I'm not trying to prove anything to you people or myself, I've accepted, my friends, the truth. I have no God, I have no creed, I have no religion. Little boy blue. I was born in the wrong generation. I think I was a 60s kid, but whatever happened, it jumped over my parents and it kind of landed on me. And I've been bringing it back with, a passion. Oh, thank you. I have some agreement from a mockingjay. Oh, that's not agreement. It's mocking me. Okay. So I'm talking too much, but it's our first meeting with myself, and I just want to say it's nice to meet you. Where have you been my whole life? Why? I've been right beside you, behind you, in front of you. And when you feel that in your life, my friends, when you know and accept that truth in your life, you may not even have any idea what I'm talking about. But if you do know, you know. And that's all I'll say about that. Because there's nothing I can say about it, but here I am trying to share the feeling of it through audio, words. Look, we were given things. Words, feet, minds, hands, legs, mouths, words, logos, truth, heart, love, emotions. These are not things to run from. They're things to face and unpeel in your life like an onion. And layer after layer after layer makes a human being. And when you get to the center of the Tootsie Pop, if your head doesn't pop first, which it will pop, the truth is that there's really no one here except for you. It's fucking just, excuse me. It's just, let's just say that I took my idea of God and I suppose I let the universe become the embodiment of that, and in essence myself become the embodiment of the connection to all of it. We're all literally star stuff, made of, forged in the center of stars, if you take such materiality to be the truth. And that is the other part of the big confession, true confession here, is that I challenge the idea of materiality and the idea that matter is first. I'll tell you, I know for a fact that matter is not primary. Yes, I have a little demon that lives with us. My fiance is familiar, and I'll tell you, it is a demon dog, and it hates my guts. But, he keeps me honest, so it's good. Anyway, yes, so let's recap. Entangled. We are all entangled. Life is messy. You have things to learn about yourself. Many things. You grow up in a system where you're told and conditioned what to think and feel and believe, what to eat, what to dress like, what to listen to. Your whole life has been given to you, Matrix style, baby. Take that, because that's the truth right there. That's some grade A, prime A, grade A truth. But that ain't something that you can know and say with words. I mean, something, I'm saying it, but you gotta know it. There's a secret, there's a secret word to get through the door. And, excuse me one moment. As I said, everything needs to know its place, because we live in an ordered matter, right? World, material world. and there's people on top, and there's people on the bottom. Anyway, you can know, I think, yourself as all of it. If you let yourself, you know what, let me make a call out right now to Jim Carrey. And you can say that I'm going through some kind of, breakdown, existential crisis. You can do that if you like. Judge me as you like. I don't judge you. I don't even know who you are. And then I didn't know exactly who you are. So we can just be honest with ourselves and drop the sham, or we can continue talking. Who am I talking to? I'm talking to myself. Anyway, it's going to get a little existential in this these confessions. It's going to be out there. It's going to be my weird, twisted mind, which some will enjoy and some will detest. And I hate, I don't hate, I accept it. Is what it is. We are an entangled bunch of atoms. Imagine all of the atoms that had to come together and dance to form this moment now. Everything. The atoms in my MacBook, the atoms that are in the electricity, the atoms, the electrons that are flowing through the wires, everything, all joining together in unison. A system, systems upon systems, and circles within circles, cooperating in focus to support my will to put a message into the world out. And let's talk a little bit about that. Who am I talking to? I am talking to myself, and that, perhaps we are simulated. They say we are not now, but who knows? Perhaps we live in a UFO or in a black hole, perhaps we're not really, material, as they say, or a hologram, There's a lot of things we can talk about. We'll have to get to those things. That's a lot of heavy stuff. But I'm Alan Watts style, in the sense that I'm going to hit you hard in the beginning, in the sense I'm going to give it to you, brother and sisters. But I'm talking to you, brother. You know who I am. And just tell you the truth. And you'll think you'll have it all made. Oh, I listened to the truth and now I can go do it. No. There's 10,000 things to learn and know and touch, and then probably 10,000 more. We live at a certain resolution in reality. And, I'll just tell you that it goes infinitely up probably and infinitely down. They say turtles all the way up, turtles all the way down. I got to give, anyway, I was talking about Jim Carrey. Got to get back to him. He's going through maybe a little bit of an existential crisis, but at the same time, I think he has also realized and accepted maybe what I'm talking about. And he's a good case study because you can kind of watch it happen in a very public figure out loud and maybe wonder what in the world is happening to that guy. He's having a breakdown. But let me tell you what's happening. And what's happened with the psychedelic connection here and what we're talking about, and with Zen that you can get to. You don't need to do any drugs. Remember, drugs are not required, and drugs probably don't ever do them. Just say no to drugs, okay? Kids, are you listening to your friend? To your Zen shaman? Just say no to drugs. But I'm going to tell you that many drugs were involved in the concoction of this person. Or in the breakdown of this person, and then the rebuilding of this person. And so, anyway, I am not advocating any such thing, although I am, this, as I said, this is true confession, so I gotta confess something, or it's not very interesting, maybe, But, I'm briefly touching on the truth of everything, and let's put that back in that bag, because, we're not ready to get there, kids. I mean, it is a long way there, and it's not so long. I'm going to throw you a few pointers to Alan Watts, give you kind of a primer, blah blah blah. I'll try to show you and kind of drop you some breadcrumbs. Whatever. I'm a nice guy. That's what I'm here to do. But really, I'm just trying to be honest with you and tell you that you've been sold a bill of goods, and it's a rotten deal. Okay. Now, I'm not in the whole good and bad, good versus evil game, I'm trying to play the transcendental game of life, which is Zen. And what does that mean? It means to transcend, they say, the great duality of Zen, yin and yang, good and evil. And again, we'll get to many of these things, I'm not going to get to all that today. We're going to just, wrap up here. But, what's happening to Jim Carrey it's profound. It's a sign of the times. So, yes, I apologize for the interruptions. I'll take care of that next time. It's all happening. It's all part of it. This is the whole experience. This is what I'm trying to say. You cannot separate the knowledge in your mind from the experience of life. It's all together. And you cannot have things the way you want them. You will have things that you need, and when you need to know, you'll know. And when you don't, you don't. And you can learn to live with that. And so, I'm going to be talking about Zen because Zen helped me find my center. Zazen. And, it's profound the effect it's had on my life. I'm a little emotional about it, and maybe that tells that I'm, a newborn babe, as I say. But, there are no levels of achievement. We are all equal, in the universe. And the universe, in my mind, it became impersonal, but it is very personal at the same time. Many things now, with the advent of advances in quantum physics and understanding now, this has been unfolding for 100 plus years from Einstein, before him now to now, and that is that, things are not as they seem, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. They are not. What appears solid is not solid at all. If you go down to the atomic level in an atom, there is so much space between electrons, and those things don't even really exist in physical space. They jump around, and that's exactly, the way that I feel, or at least for me. I'm just sharing my experience with you. I cannot give you, like I said, I cannot help you. I cannot help anyone but myself. And this is part of helping myself, by talking to you and myself. And I'm talking to the future too, because it's going to be on the internet and YouTube, and they're going to store this away in the great AI, and maybe this will live on forever in some weird way. And maybe that'll be my little contribution, anonymous contribution to the noosphere, to the great network that is unfolding. So anyway, yeah, I don't believe anything really, but I have an experience that I can share, and it's profound. It took a little confused bastard Christian kid, turned him inside out. We all, can look around in our lives to know what to do and to see where to go and who we are. Do not let people tell you, and don't believe anything I say or anybody. You have to go look for yourself. And that's all that I'm, confessing here, is that you have to look for yourself, and you have to be honest with yourself. I recently moved in, my last confession of the night, when I moved into the place we live now, I thought I was doing pretty good. I thought I was making some progress. And, the neighbors, God bless the young guys, 5 guys living over there. I was immediately hostile, coming from a very sensitive situation in my previous place that I lived. And so I was kind of trying to set the ground rules and thought I'd puff my chest up a little bit. And I kind of got a little bit ahead of myself and kind of stuck my foot in my mouth, which I am often to do, as my friends will tell you. Which I have, I have a world of friends. Anyone I meet is a friend, That's another reality, If you accept yourself, you accept everybody else. But you have to be honest, the process, you're conditioned, it takes time, you have traumas, you have to basically, in a lot of ways, we all have to be in AA all the time. Alcoholics Anonymous, because, I discovered one of the things Alcoholics Anonymous is based on, what they call the perennial philosophy, and I will be talking about that as well. My experience with it, at least. And it's limited. I'm very limited. I'm not very disciplined. I'm obsessive and maniacal at times, and I have superpowers, but I'm also ADD and Asperger, and that's why Zen and flowing in the moment and kind of being in the moment fits very well with me, because I don't plan very well, as, and I'm more kind of intuitive now, and I've trained my intuition, but, so anyway, okay, so let's leave Jim where he was. Jim we'll talk about later, but I like what's going on there. I'll note another teacher, Eckhart Tolle, who influenced Jim Carrey quite a bit. He also influenced myself, not so much, but I quickly saw, at least just because I had found through another friend, and I'll talk about him later, the guy who was responsible for my awakening, at least the guy that you could say he was the 8 ball. And, or no, you could say he's the cue ball and he hit the 8 ball, in the corner pocket for me. And, and all the dominoes fell after that. So, we all need teachers, we all need people. We're living our life. We should be connected. We should live a full life. We should all be healthy. We should treat each other fairly. We should have love in our life. We should suffer as needed. So that we can learn that all these things are not things that we need and that things that we are, but we find that we are much more than just the blood and the veins and the flesh and the bones and the electricity kind of walking around. We're all of it. And not only that, we're the environment we're in. So setting a context is everything. You cannot take one without the other. You cannot understand my life without setting context. I cannot understand anybody else's life without that as well. So always remember, Eric, you dumbass, you cannot judge anyone, and you always have to accept them on equal terms until they show themselves, to not be people that you can trust. And that's something that I was, for a long time. It's good to be skeptical, but you should give people an even kind of greeting. Anyway, so, it's all relative. We're all entangled. There's a thing as duality, which people who, see things as black and white, good and bad, right or wrong. And then there are people who are more open-minded. So, this has been a journey for me, opening my mind, expanding my consciousness, as they say. It's been amazing so far. I believe that I'm looking at some fruit on the tree over here, some citrus falling. There's been fruit in my tree, I would say. Progress. But, we all have our demons, as they say, and we all have our burdens to bear. And I always appreciate that everyone suffers, and we should always be sensitive to one another's suffering. And also, I believe, not believe, but I experienced treating others as ourselves is not just the golden rule, but, do unto others as you would have them do unto you, but if you connect that to your heart and not just in your mind, it's not just a law or a rule that you do to get something, but instead it's an expression of who you are, to give somebody your compassion and to feel for them as you feel for yourself. That is really what I think being a human being is all about. And so, this this confession, this show to myself, it's more just, stating that, publicly, out loud. And into the universe, until any who would listen or hear or want to or turn it off, my ramblings are my own. Your life is your own, my life is my own. But we choose to share it and entangle ourselves with other people. And so because of that, we have a responsibility. We have a responsibility to the people to be faithful, to show them equanimity, which means, to show them the same grace we show ourselves, to not be angry, and if we do get angry, to quickly take a step back. So as I said, there are ways you can learn to channel your feelings and to not attach to them. And there are some amazing tools that, with psychedelics and in the right hands and the right skilled hands can be very beneficial for people. But, these are new horizons out there now. They're starting to look at psychedelics again, and they're beginning to incorporate them into their, into the actual, medical practice again. And, so there is a lot of movement going on in this area. And we'll talk a lot more about that. I have an experience that I'll share, and I have a feeling and an understanding of what I know to be happening. And it's kind of a self-revealing things, there's a path until there's no path, and then there's no one on the path, and then you go, what's going on? Who is this? As they say, and then you kind of start to get a hint of the game. And let's leave it there for tonight. It's been a long week. I'm tired, getting ready, resting here. My father's coming. Looking forward to spending some time getting to know him better, and learning how to be a son. All these things, experiences in our lives, are just here to, help us learn, I think, to connect, and to give people the benefit of the doubt, and ourselves as well. So, peace to everybody, and I hope life goes well for you.